So now we're up to the second alyah for devariim, verse 12. How can I bear your trouble, your burden, and your strife all by myself? So this is still Moses talking. Prepare yourselves, wise and understanding men, known among your tribes, and I'll make them heads over you. But didn't he already do that? Didn't he already make the tribal heads? And you mean, oh, right, so he's talking about the past. He's talking about the past, like when at Mount Sinai. And when he answered me, this thing you have spoken is good for us to do. So he did, so they agreed. And remember, that was actually Yitro's idea, it was his father-in-law's idea. So I took the heads of your tribes, men wise and well-known, and I made them heads over you, leaders of thousands, leaders of hundreds, leaders over 50, and leaders over tens, and officers of your tribes. So he made a bureaucratic system. Now, he needed his father-in-law to tell him that, right? But, like, couldn't he have thought of that on his own? I mean, wouldn't that be obvious that one person can't lead, like, minimum 600,000 people, which are only, we're only counting the men that are between 20 and 60 years old. If you count the children and count all the women, it's got to be at least 3 million people. So how would he ever come to the conclusion that one person could do that? But whatever, okay. It's like, he needed to be, Judaism has this, like sort of snuck in, alyah. Like, Judaism is this nice way of teaching us you can't do things by yourself, and that you need help, and we're never alone. No man is an island, no person is an island. No matter what you think about how great you are, you actually need another person. Like, nobody could do anything by themselves. So I read that. And I commanded your judges at the time, saying, hear disputes between your brothers and judge justice between a man and his brother and between his litigant, and also women, obviously. Just using the term brother here, like, generically. And you should not favor persons in judgment. Super important. This is super important halacha. You shall hear the small just as the great. You shall not fear any man, for the judgment is upon the Lord. And if the case is too difficult for you, bring it to me, and I will hear it. So he's like this. He's the last word, so to speak. He's like the Supreme Court, but he's the top judge. But only if it's a really difficult case. If it's not a difficult case, like, he doesn't need to be consulted on, all matters. He's like, the judges can take care of it. And I commanded you at the time all the things you should do. Well, actually, God told me to command you. I mean, Moses, come on, you're taking a little bit too much credit here, because you have to remember that God told you to say all those things. And we journeyed from Horeb, and we went through all that great and fearful desert, which you saw, by the way of the mountain of the Amorites. And as the Lord your God commanded us, and we came up to Kadesh Barnea. So, I mean, how deep in the desert were they? I mean, come on. See, here, this is one of those things that, like, they really were never lost in the desert. We weren't deep in the desert. We're in the middle of nowhere, because they're, like, right by the Amorites, or Amorites were right around them. And I said to you, you have come to the mountain of the Amorites, which the Lord our God is giving us. Behold, the Lord your God has set the land before you, up as a possession to you. The Lord your God, of your fathers, has spoken to you. You shall neither fear nor be ashamed. Now, the Torah here is repeating itself, because we already had that in the previous aliyah, that this promise, the promise that was given to the forefathers, which doesn't restate their names, but we know that's Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob, Yaakov. So that there was this promise that was given, right? I mean, all you have to do is read the first 2 books of the Torah, right, to know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, Moses is repeating himself. Now, if I was editing the Torah, if I was on a team of editors, if I was in this JEPD group, right, if I was one of these people who was editing the Torah like 3,000 years ago, right, 2,500 years ago, whenever they claimed that this JEP&D people lived, right, like, let's say, I don't know, like, early First Temple period. I don't even believe that there was a First Temple. But anyways, if I'm in this group of editors, I'm like taking some shortcuts here. I'm taking some of this repetitive verses out of the Torah. Like, why would these editors ever leave it in? Okay, but that ends the second aliyah. I think I'm really, I'm repeating myself a lot too, because it's super important, this question I'm asking.